Welcome to our deep dive into secure attachment.
Oh, I'm excited.
We'll be looking at Raising Securely Attached Kids by Eli Harwood.
Okay.
And we're going to kind of go through and figure out what secure attachment is and
Why it matters.
why it matters and how we can use it
Yes.
in our lives.
I love this topic so much.
I do too. And one of the things that the book starts off with is that human babies are born helpless.
They are helpless. I mean,
Compared to
other animals.
Yeah, like a baby elephant can walk pretty much right after. It's born minutes after it's born.
Yeah. So why is that?
Well, the author talks about that as a trade-off.
Okay.
So because human babies' brains are so large and complex, they're actually born before they're fully developed.
So they need us.
They need us
kind
to
of
help their brains finish developing.
And grow.
And the way that they do that is through those early interactions
With us.
with their caregivers.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where attachment comes in.
Yeah.
So
What is that exactly?
secure attachment is like a biological drive. And it's all about seeking closeness with our caregivers, especially when we're stressed or scared.
For comfort.
Safety, and to help us regulate our emotions.
My kids, when they were little,
Uh-huh.
were afraid of men with beards.
Oh, really?
It was the funniest thing.
Specific fear.
They would just cling to me
Oh.
and hide their faces
Oh, that's so cute.
until they felt safe.
So I wonder if that's
That's it.
like an example of that safe haven concept.
Oh, tell me about Safe Haven.
So a safe haven is that feeling of complete safety and understanding that you get from a caregiver.
Okay.
So it's like, in that moment, your daughters felt threatened by the beard,
A beard.
and they turned to you as their safe haven.
Like
You represented safety and comfort for them.
I was their person.
Yes, you were their person. Okay, so safe haven.
And then there's also the idea of a secure base.
Oh, what's that?
So a secure base is more about exploration. So it's the confidence to go out and explore the world knowing that your caregiver is there
If you need them.
if you need them.
Kind of like a home base.
Yes, they
Go out, you do your thing,
Yeah.
and then you come back.
come back to that secure base.
I like that.
So the book talks about this study
Okay.
called The Strange Situation.
The strange situation.
Have you heard of that?
No.
Okay, so it's a really interesting study where researchers observed how infants react when they're separated from and then reunited with their caregivers.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, and what they found is that there are different attachment styles.
Okay.
So secure attachment is one,
Sure.
but there's also avoidant attachment, resistant attachment,
Okay.
and disorganized attachment.
Okay.
So these different styles reflect different ways that individuals manage stress and connect with others.
So what if you didn't have a secure attachment growing up?
That's a great question.
I mean,
And a lot of people worry about that.
yeah.
Can you still be a good parent if you didn't have the best childhood?
Right.
The book talks about earned secure attachment.
Okay.
So even if you didn't experience secure attachment as a child,
You can.
you can still learn to provide it for your own children.
I love that.
It's about recognizing your patterns, working to heal past wounds, and developing new ways of relating.
So there's hope for all of us.
There is.
I like that.
The book also has this section called Nerd Alert.
Nerd alert. I love it.
I know.
I'm a nerd, so.
I'm too.
And this is where Eli Harwood talks about the brain science behind attachment.
It's fascinating.
It really is.
Did you know that a baby's brain relies on their caregiver?
To function as their prefrontal cortex.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
It's incredible.
Like we literally are
We are their prefrontal cortex.
your brains. That's the part of the brain that handles logic, emotional
Right.
regulation,
Right.
like all the executive functions.
Yes.
That's so interesting.
It really highlights the importance of those early interactions.
So I know one of the things that a lot of parents
Struggle with.
is discipline.
Yeah, discipline's a big one.
Big one.
And the book talks about this too.
It does.
So she challenges the traditional emphasis on rewards and punishments, saying that they can actually be pretty limited. In what way? Well, she suggests that focusing solely on controlling behavior doesn't address the underlying needs
That are driving the behavior.
Exactly. So she advocates for shifting away from a behaviorist model and moving towards a more secure attachment framework.
And what's the difference?
So instead of trying to control kids through rewards and punishments. We're trying to understand
needs.
yes, their needs.
Interesting.
And help them meet those needs in healthy ways.
Okay.
So it's more about collaboration and connection.
Then control.
Then control.
I mean, I find myself struggling with that sometimes.
I think a lot of parents do.
Like I'm either too strict or I'm too permissive.
Yeah, it's hard to find that balance.
It is.
But the book has some really practical tips.
Okay, good.
Like, for example, with infants,
Yeah.
she talks about the importance of responding to their cries consistently.
And when they're little, it's not even about like trying to get them to stop crying.
No, it's about letting them know that you hear them.
You see them.
You see them.
You're there.
And you're there for them.
That makes sense.
So it's about building that trust and security from the very beginning.
So then as they get older, what do we do?
Well, when they transition into toddlerhood,
Uh-huh.
it becomes more about helping them understand and express their emotions in healthy ways.
That sounds hard.
It can be, but it's so important. We
Okay.
want to validate their feelings while also setting clear boundaries. So it's like teaching them the language of emotions
Okay.
and providing them with a safe space to practice.
Practice their emotions.
Yeah.
But
And then as they move into middle school,
yeah.
curiosity becomes really important. Asking open-ended questions,
Uh-huh.
trying to understand their perspective.
Their world.
Their world, yeah.
That makes sense.
Because middle school is tough.
It is.
So they need our empathy and guidance.
Even more.
Even more during that time.
And then high school.
Oh, high
So
school.
my oldest is about to go into high school.
It's a big transition.
What do I do?
So in high school, it's really about finding that balance
Between what?
between offering guidance
Okay.
and respecting their growing autonomy.
Mhm.
So we want them to know that we trust them
To make
their own choices,
right
but we're still there to support them
if they fall.
if they fall.
I like that.
So it's a gradual shift from being more directive to being more of a mentor.
Oh, that's interesting.
And this all ties back to that idea of a secure base
Okay.
that we were talking about earlier. So when they have that secure base, they feel more confident to go out and explore the world, knowing that they have a safe place to come back to.
And we're there.
And you're there.
Okay.
The book also delves into a really important topic,
Okay.
generational trauma. And the author uses a really powerful metaphor.
What's that?
She describes it as ghosts
Ghosts.
residing in our nervous systems.
What does she mean?
So these ghosts represent the unhealed wounds
From our past.
that
Sure.
we carry with us,
Like baggage.
like baggage.
Okay.
And without even realizing it,
Uh-huh.
these ghosts can influence our parenting.
Interesting.
Yeah, so she emphasizes that healing our own trauma
Is important.
is crucial
Why?
because it's essential for breaking those cycles of insecurity.
So we're not
It's not about blaming our parents.
okay
It's about taking responsibility
for ourselves.
for ourselves and our own well-being
Hmm.
and creating a healthier legacy for our children.
You know, it's funny you say that because my mom went through like a huge healing journey when I was younger. And it completely transformed our relationship.
That's amazing.
And I think it really helped me be a better parent too.
That makes sense.
Like I was able to break
Break the cycle.
the cycle.
Yeah.
So how do we heal?
Well, the first step is awareness.
Okay.
Becoming aware of those patterns that we've inherited. That's the first step.
Okay.
And then it's about understanding how those patterns are showing up in our lives.
Okay.
And then we can start to make conscious choices to do things differently.
So it's not easy,
No, it's not easy.
but it's possible.
It is possible.
And she uses a great analogy
Oh, I love her analogies.
in the book.
What is it?
She compares it to being lost in the woods.
Okay.
You have to retrace your steps to
It's
figure out
how you got lost,
how you got off track.
to find your way back.
I love that.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And you know, we're all works in progress. Even the most well-intentioned parents are going to make mistakes.
Right.
It's about approaching ourselves and our children with compassion
And a willingness to grow.
and a willingness to grow.
I like that.
It's a journey,
It is.
not a destination.
So true.
And the good news is
Ah.
Eli Harwood offers a ton of practical guidance in the book
Good.
for putting all of these principles into action.
I can't wait to hear more.
Me too.
We're taking a quick break and then come back
Awesome.
and dive into some of those specifics.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive on secure attachment.
We were talking about how important it is to
Build that foundation?
to build that foundation.
And how even if we didn't have it ourselves,
Right.
we can create it for our kids.
I love that concept of earned secure attachment.
It's so empowering.
It really is.
And it reminds us that, like,
We can always...
it's never too late to
Totally
grow and change.
So true.
Speaking of growth, let's circle back to the idea of nurturing self-confidence in kids.
Okay.
Because I know that's a big one for a lot of parents.
It is.
And Eli Harwood has some really interesting insights about this.
What does she say?
Well, for one thing, she challenges this idea that's become really popular
About what?
about teaching kids to self-soothe.
Oh, okay.
You know, like just kind of letting them cry it out
Right.
and figure things out on their own.
But she doesn't agree with that.
Not entirely.
Okay.
She argues that it's not about suppressing emotions.
Right.
It's about providing them with the co-regulation they need
To process their feelings.
to process their feelings effectively. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier.
About babies needing their parents to be their prefrontal cortex.
Exactly.
It's
Like
right.
literally.
It's like we're their external prefrontal cortex.
It's so wild.
I know, right?
Okay, so how do we provide co-regulation?
Well, she emphasizes the importance of mirroring emotions.
What do you mean?
So showing them that we recognize and validate what they're feeling.
Oh, I see.
Like if they're sad,
We're sad with them.
not necessarily sad with them, but we acknowledge their sadness.
Okay.
We say things like, oh, honey, I see that you're feeling sad right now.
It's okay to feel sad.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
So it's about letting them know that their feelings are okay,
That their feelings matter.
that their feelings matter.
I like that.
And she talks about mirror neurons in the book.
What are those?
So mirror neurons are these amazing brain cells
They?
that fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else performing that action.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
That's fascinating.
So it's like our brains are literally wired for empathy.
That's incredible.
I know, it's pretty amazing.
Okay, so when we mirror our children's emotions back to them,
It helps them feel seen and understood.
like we get it.
We get it.
I see you.
Yes, exactly.
And she also talks about attunement.
Yes, attunement is so important.
What is it?
So attunement is the ability to accurately perceive and respond to a child's emotional cues.
Like being in tune with them.
Exactly.
Okay.
And she contrasts this with misattunement,
Right.
which is when we either overreact or dismiss a child's emotions.
I think I've done both.
Probably most of us have at some point.
Yeah.
But the problem with misattunement is that it disrupts a child's ability to regulate their emotions effectively.
So they don't learn how to deal with their feelings.
Right.
So what can we do to improve our attunement?
Well, she suggests that the first step is to become more aware of our own emotions.
So self-awareness.
Yes, self-awareness is key.
Okay.
Because when we're aware of our own triggers and patterns, we're less likely to react unconsciously.
We can respond with intention.
Exactly.
Instead of just reacting.
So it's like doing our own inner work.
Yeah.
So that we can show up for our kids in a more attuned way.
I like that.
And it also involves paying close attention to our children's nonverbal cues.
Like their body language.
Yeah. Their body language, their facial expressions, their tone of voice.
Oh, okay.
Because those things can tell us a lot about how they're feeling.
Even if they don't have the words to express it.
Exactly.
And one thing she talks about that I thought was really interesting
What's that?
is that we shouldn't try to maintain a neutral expression when a child is upset.
Oh, yeah. That's a common misconception.
Yeah.
People think we should be, like, calm and neutral.
Mm-hmm.
But she actually suggests that showing empathy and mirroring their emotions can actually help them calm down.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive.
It is.
But think about it. When a child sees us reflecting their distress,
Yeah.
it communicates that their emotions are safe with us,
That we can handle it.
that we can handle it.
I see.
We're not going to freak out.
We're not going to get overwhelmed.
Exactly.
So it creates a sense of safety
It does.
for them to experience their emotions
Yes.
without feeling judged or rejected.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
And this brings us to another big one, anger.
Oh, boy.
Anger is a tough one for a lot of parents.
It is.
But Eli Harwood emphasizes that anger is not inherently bad.
Okay.
It's a natural human emotion.
It is.
And it often signals that a need isn't being met.
Or a boundary's been crossed.
Yeah, exactly.
So how should we handle it then?
Well, instead of reacting with our own anger,
Which I'm guilty of.
I think we all are sometimes,
Yeah.
we can respond with curiosity and empathy. We can ask ourselves, where's the hurt? Where's the fear? What's triggering this reaction?
That's a good point.
So it's about shifting from a reactive stance to a more inquisitive one.
To a more understanding one.
Yes.
Okay.
And this allows us to move beyond simply managing behavior
And get to the root of the problem.
and get to the root of the problem.
Which is their need.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And it also involves modeling healthy coping mechanisms ourselves.
So we have to be the example.
We do.
Okay.
She tells this really sweet story in the book.
What is it?
About her son, who after a day of having a lot of meltdowns came up to her and said, "Mommy, I need some TLC."
Oh my gosh.
It's so cute.
That is adorable.
And it just shows how much kids learn by observing us.
They're always watching.
They're always watching.
So if we can show them how to navigate challenging emotions in a healthy way,
They're more likely to do the same.
that's a powerful message.
It is.
So we're creating a family culture
Yes.
where vulnerability is okay.
Where emotions are normalized.
Emotions are okay.
Yes.
And we can talk about them.
We can talk about them.
I like that.
So let's move on to another important topic.
What's that?
Conflict resolution.
Ooh, conflict.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
It is.
Especially with kids.
But how do we handle it?
Well, Eli Harwood stresses the importance of understanding our own conflict histories.
Our own baggage.
Our own baggage, exactly.
Right.
Because those past experiences can really shape how we react in the present.
So we might be bringing unresolved issues into our interactions with our kids. And we don't even realize it.
We might not even realize it.
Okay, so what can we do about that?
Well, the first step is awareness.
There's that word again.
I know, right? It's all about awareness.
Okay.
So becoming aware of those ingrained patterns.
Those automatic responses
Yes.
that might not be serving us well.
And then we can start to make conscious choices to do things differently.
Okay.
And she also encourages parents to adopt what she calls a discovery mindset.
A discovery mindset.
When conflicts arise.
What does that mean?
So a discovery mindset involves approaching disagreements with curiosity
Curiosity.
and a genuine desire to understand each other's perspectives.
Oh, so it's not about winning.
It's not about winning.
It's about understanding.
It's about understanding.
Okay.
And seeing conflict as an opportunity for growth and connection.
That's a really different way of looking at it.
It is.
But it makes sense.
It does.
We're on the same team.
We are.
We're trying to work together.
To find a solution.
That works for everyone.
That works for everyone.
I like that.
And this requires us to teach our kids some specific skills.
Like what?
Things like active listening,
Mhm.
calm communication.
Respectful responding.
Exactly.
So it's not just about resolving the conflict.
It's about teaching them how to communicate effectively.
To navigate disagreements in a healthy way.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And these skills are so important for all kinds of relationships.
And not just with their parents.
Well, not just with the parent.
With their friends, with their future partners, with their colleagues.
It's about setting them up for success in all areas of their lives.
That's a great point.
So as we move into the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
we're going to explore the bittersweet experience of watching our kids gain independence.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It is.
But it's also exciting.
It is exciting.
See them spread their wings.
It is.
And we'll also be talking about how to navigate those tricky conversations.
Yes, those tricky conversations are coming.
That inevitably arise as they get older.
So stay tuned for more insights from raising securely attached kids.
So we were talking about how watching our kids gain independence can be both exciting and a little bit bittersweet.
It is such a mix of emotion.
Like, on the one hand, we're so proud of them
So proud.
for growing and becoming their own people.
Right.
But on the other hand,
It can be hard to let go.
it can be hard to let go.
Yeah,
And Eli Harwood talks about this in the book.
she does.
She says that a lot of parents either try to cling to control
Mm-hmm.
or they push their kids towards independence too quickly
Out of fear.
out of fear.
Yeah.
Like, they're afraid of something bad happening.
Or they're afraid their kids won't be successful.
Right.
If they don't push them hard enough.
And she tells that story about her friend who was like thrown into the pool by her dad
Oh, yeah, I remember that story.
to teach her how to swim.
But it totally backfired.
Something like
It
that.
made her terrified of water.
Yeah.
So it's a good reminder that we need to respect our kids' individual pace.
And not push them too hard.
Ex-
But at the same time, we don't want to hold them back.
Right.
So how do we find that balance?
Well, she suggests focusing on co-regulation.
What does that mean?
So instead of just throwing them in the deep end,
Metaphorically speaking,
metaphorically speaking.
we equip them with the tools they need to manage their anxiety
Okay.
so they can approach new experiences with more confidence.
And self-assurance.
So it's about empowering them
Yes, exactly.
to face their fears.
But with support.
The support.
So it's not about avoiding scary situations altogether.
It's about helping them through it.
It's about teaching them how to cope.
And empathy plays a big role in this process.
Absolutely.
Saying things like,
I understand this is scary.
it's okay to be nervous.
I'm here for you.
Those kinds of things.
Those are so powerful.
They are.
Because they validate their feelings.
And let them know that they're not alone.
Exactly.
And she also recommends identifying comforting resources.
Oh, yeah, like a special blanket.
Or a stuffed animal.
My favorite song.
Those things can really help.
They can.
To provide a sense of security.
And familiarity.
When they're feeling anxious.
So it's like giving them a little piece of home.
To take with them.
Wherever they go.
I love that.
And it's important to remember that even though our kids are gaining independence, it doesn't mean they don't need us anymore.
They still need connection.
They do.
It just looks different.
It evolves.
As they grow.
Yeah.
And she tells this really cute story in the book.
What's that?
About her son who starts using slang with her.
Like bro and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
And she's like a little bit hurt by it.
I can imagine.
But then later that day,
What happened?
he falls and scrapes his knee.
Ah.
And he runs straight to her.
Calling her mom.
Aww.
That's so sweet.
Yes.
It just shows that even though they're trying to be all independent and grown up,
Yeah.
they still need that connection with us.
They still need our comfort and love.
Absolutely.
So it's a dance.
It is.
Between letting go.
And holding on.
So we've talked about a lot of different aspects of secure attachment.
We have.
From the importance of co-regulation and empathy.
To the power of connection and healthy conflict resolution.
But there's one more thing I want to touch on.
What's that?
Tricky conversations.
Oh, yeah. Those are inevitable.
As our kids get older,
They are.
we have to have those conversations about
Sex and drugs and
all the tough stuff.
all the things that make us uncomfortable.
And Eli Harwood has some great advice for navigating those conversations.
What does she say?
Well, first of all, she says, we need to be prepared.
Okay.
Like, we need to think about what topics might trigger us.
And why?
And why.
That's a good point.
Because if we're not aware of our own baggage,
Yeah.
it can make it harder to have those conversations in a calm and open way.
So we need to do our own work first.
We do.
So that we can show up for our kids in a more grounded way.
Exactly.
And she also recommends educating ourselves about the issues that kids are facing today.
The world is different now
It is.
than it was when we were growing up.
So we need to stay informed.
To be relevant.
To be able to connect with them on their level.
That's a good point.
And she cautions against having rigid expectations.
About how our kids will react.
Because every kid is different.
They are.
And they might not respond the way we expect them to.
So we have to be flexible.
We do.
And meet them where they are.
With empathy and understanding.
And she tells this story about her son asking her where babies come from.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
And she just answered him honestly.
In a way that he could understand.
So it's about being direct.
And age appropriate.
And following their lead.
Exactly.
If they're not ready to talk about something,
we don't force it.
We respect that.
And we let them know that we're there when they're ready.
That's a good point.
And she also gives some really helpful tips.
For what?
For staying calm during those conversations.
Because they can be intense.
They can.
Like sometimes I get so flustered, I don't even know what to say.
Well, she suggests things like taking deep breaths.
Okay.
Pausing before responding. And acknowledging that we don't have to have all the answers.
That's a good one.
Sometimes the best response is, I don't know, but let's find out together.
I like
It shows them that we're willing to learn alongside them.
And that it's okay to not have all the answers.
Exactly.
And if we're really struggling,
yeah,
it's okay to ask for help.
it is.
Like from a therapist or a counselor.
Or another trusted adult. We don't have
Yeah.
to do this alone.
We don't.
And before we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
there's one more thing I want to highlight.
What's that?
Eli Harwood talks about how eventually our kids
We'll form strong attachments
with people outside of our family,
with their friends, with their partners.
with their teachers, with their coaches.
And she celebrates this.
She does.
She sees it as a sign of our success as parents.
Because it means we've equipped them with the tools
To create healthy relationships.
That's-
And she calls this bonding onward.
I love that phrase.
Me too.
It's so beautiful.
It is.
It's like we're sending them out into the world
Bucket capacity
to love and connect.
with others.
And that's ultimately what we want for them.
It is.
To live full and meaningful lives.
So as we conclude our exploration of secure attachment,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this question.
Okay.
How can you support your child in bonding onward
Mm.
while also nurturing that special connection?
That you share.
It's something to think about
It is.
as our kids grow and change.
And as our roles as parents continue to evolve.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
I hope you learned as much as I did.
Me too.
And I encourage you to check out Eli Harwood's book,
Raising Securely Attached Kids.
for more insights and guidance.
It's a fantastic resource.
It is for all parents.
Until next time, keep exploring.
And keep connecting.